Came into this computer. Just be aware of the effects. Right. I don't know. It's the music there, isn't it? And the phone. Oh, there's red iron oxide. The comets are in the skies. They're hidden. And there's red iron oxide. The gases are killing off. They're affecting. Right. I'm sure why. Even though she's trying to. That's interesting, guys.
Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, the 4th of August 2021, just after 1 o'clock. Welcome to UK Column News. I'm your host, Mike Robinson. Joining me in the studio today, I'm delighted to say, Alex Thompson from Eastern Approaches. Welcome to the programme, Alex.
Thank you, Mike.
Good to have you here physically. And joining us over the video link is Brian Garish, as usual. So we're just going to get straight on with the vaccination of children. Let's just set the scene. If we remember, June Rain, the Chief Executive of the MHRA, the Medicines Regulator in the UK, some weeks ago said it will now be for the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation to advise on whether children will be vaccinated as part of the deployment programme. And if you remember, at the time that she made this statement, or a couple of days later, the JCVI put a
G20. No medical degree. What's much? I thought it's much. So, no medical degree set up Polish people got St. John's I knew there'd be no medical degree. Let's turn it up now. They have got any drinks in here? Hello? Hello? I'll be right back. I'll be there. Adrian Tollbridge. So this population control is also disabled people, elderly. You can target me as much as you like, unlawfully, but I will get the facts out. Keep having me. This is historic information. So it's nothing. The full playback's from speak, right? So educate yourself. Demonic powers that be. And this is information. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 5th of April 2021. It's nothing new by the world elites, the bloodlines. Our population control. 1763, the British during the French Indian War. Native Americans greatly outnumber the British. The gaslighting don't work. East UK. So, as I said, all these public servants working together, it's all business. I mean, there's history on this document. But to date, in 2020 plus, I found out AI factories, for example, Best Way Group, who is the London company, it's all business and commerce, London based, and they have areas in England, known trade name as well, pharmaceutical companies. And I knew the block on medication delivery last week was by somebody was be often the driver, self-employed drivers are off on holiday. Nobody, if there's a replacement, a temporary. They did not put the weekly pack in the correct department section, so they didn't know to deliver. And this keeps happening because it's a big corporation, big business. And also, I just listened to, in England, is known as disability strategy for healthcare, housing, medical. It is not happening. Okay. I noticed the decline on the correct lawful due process started with me, for example, in 2017, with blocking the repairs to my bathroom. And then subtle things before that, yes, the NK Ultra targeted program. But on the public funded companies, the public purse funded, and they subcontract out to third party companies, private in contract law, and in England, and especially in my area, when it went on to the process of the non-democracy level, in the political terminology in England, especially my area, are known as Agenda 2030. Well, their documents are more advanced. It's clearly is Agenda 2050. And stopthecrime.net, her website, how it documents from past to present is all being about population control. But the umbrella in the terminology used is, especially, I can't quote about other countries. I can only quote in my location. I'm not an expert in other areas. I'm not expert in nothing, just observations. So I educate myself and knowledge on fact in subjects to protect my lawful rights. So now NHS England Limited long-term plan attack not allegedly, but the policies are not inclusive within the lawful reasonable adjustments. Anything with those with you see, the use of technology, the advanced technology is using AI, artificial intelligence technology, more than that as well, as I already know. The brain interface technology, the implants technology, the brain implants. So this will illuminate any of those they deem. Who are they? These are people trained in up years in their bloodlines and their families with the dark occultists. And with the Freemasonry ordinary membership's nothing compared to the bigger picture. So when you find the history out and put it into everyday terminology and the future, you see the bigger picture. And this is what they don't want. They don't want people awakening to truth, to facts. So when you realise the birth certificate all along is just always been in history, it goes back to the banking system and you go back to bartering system. It's just a piece of blinking paper that corrects a trust and equity law. And they need the living man and woman to act as surety and to put the signature, the autograph on the documents to give the authorization of this, whoever the agent is, individual working for the public or private companies, to dip into that trust held as a benefit use of. But there isn't any gold or silver or tangible means to back up the trust that was created from the life birth of a baby, right? So my mother never knew all this knowledge. I didn't know none of this. When my kids were born, I only started learning in 2012, the late John Harris, tpuc.org. There's an archive website, and there's information now with in terminology of language, sentence grammar, quantum sentence grammar to be fact. And and then you do the stamp duty in your documents and your copy claim right. And you see, when you produce and learn this knowledge back to these agents offering business services, some people know this and some people don't. And those that know this, okay, they're taught this in the lodges, the Freemason lodges maybe. And the Latin, the terminology, the words, the language goes back to, well, like various good people have got the information out a long time before the censorship of the internet and things nowadays. And yeah, they rightly say it's gone on to the spirituality. So the practicality of existence on the physical plane on Earth is the makeup of the frequencies of the body, the atoms, it's all connected. We're all connected in that regard. Physical. It's a bit like anyone's seen a Matrix movie or Born Identity movie, and these scripts written up in movies always is informing the public what is happening before sometimes it happens, and then it gets into public policy. And so it goes, so it always seems to be like England starts in March 2020 events of the health situation going on. And then it spreads throughout the different world. And when you go to ID 20, what was it, ID 2021? ID 20, I can't remember now. But the Rockefeller Foundation, and when you research the Rockefeller family and the history in the 1800s, you have to really go back in history. and you'll find this evidence. It's just ordinary everyday folk are too busy trying to survive to put food on the table, most probably to care. And sometimes the neuromonitoring, the brain interface technology makes sure they're not waking up, because these brain implants, the documents, the patterns and evidence have been going on for a long time before I was born. So, with the NK Ultra part of it, they've been doing that since the 1800s. And I'm shocked to find that out. So, but they've been doing experimentation. This is black nobility, the deep history, the really sort of like in depth of humanity and the control of the populace. And I'm just me, right? So I've just lived life, and I've lived a life. Not saying it's over, but I lived a life in all different ways. I've seen a lot, I've done a lot. I'm not an angel, but I would never, the way I was raised, in a way, it's a 360, because I know a lot of stuff and I have the knowledge, but I keep it basic to the fact of on technology, phones, computers, you name it, and gaslighting is all part of it. The psychological tactics, the it's just they've got to shut people down that have knowledge by their own device, their own methods, their own factual evidence, and they don't want information getting out. I mean, the old-fashioned books, you just want to, if they're still about, I don't know, nowadays everything's all digitalised, and if you still got hard copies of the Black's Law or saved it on your device or whatever, and you look at the meaning and definition of words, and in Latin, people who had wealth in history went to specialist education establishments. And in those days, it was always been about business, finance, and in the monetary system, the bartering was about goods and services, physical, tangible means. You had a skill, you were a labourer, you were a carpenter, or a farmer, you just exchanged goods and services. So how was it all turned into the way it is now for all those years to date? Because you had the banking families, uh, a certain Morgan family, Rockefeller family, and it's always been about control. So, and then the sciences. So we go to these education establishments in history and philosophers and so many people that have their person. It's like personal individuals. Oh, I've got a piece of paper now, or I can call myself scientist, whatever label they want to call themselves. Whatever piece of paper they claim they have does not make them any different, any authority of another, And the dictatorship, like, you only need to see what's going on in certain countries around the world and look at the history of so much that's gone on. And I always wondered why I studied biology at school and history. There's two main subjects I was interested in when I was younger. And I was very athletic, very sporty years ago. I wasn't very academically minded, I was more artistic in arts and crafts. And good job I've learned a lot of those basic skills, because it's all now turned around. You do need to know how to sew, the basics of first aid. I learnt that years ago. Natural health. So you're not reliant on, because everything is, a lot of people are turning to crypto mining, the mining, the digital system, currency, because they know that's what's going to take over the world. So these banking elites are literally, if you can just get hold of your basic, depending on where you are in the world, get hold of your basics, i.e. on the in England, for example, the mint. Your basic ounces of silver, I wouldn't even touch gold. But this, you got your 10p to 50p's. I mean, your pound coins is made of copper, a little bit of gold, not much, and silver. But basically, you're looking at 5p's, 10p's, a smaller domination and change, and 50p's, and then get some stuff you can afford it. Brandy is good. If you get dental abscess or pain, don't drink it. Just you're numbing, and it's all little things you learn from depression years, and it gets passed down in the family, and then you try to pass it on to your own. And these are the tips you pick up. You don't throw away things, you reuse things. So, as I said, those people, I've seen videos that someone used to share their grandmother's videos about food, how to stretch the food, how to use spices and flavourings to spice up and flavour ordinary, perhaps canned or dry food, because not a lot of people has this fiat currency spare to build a storage. And then you got your toiletries, but you see, you go back in the 1800s and maybe further, none of this modern technology or modern way of life was about. How did they provide the water? Did they have the old-fashioned wells? Have sources? You look at the history of mining of resources for their heating and lighting. So it really is important to look at the history of humanity on Earth. How do they start to survive? You know, and you think we're involved into a lot now. No, we're going back. We're going back. The pole shift effect and the comets affecting the weather. We're going back. You see, we don't start with basic knowledge how we are today to 2021 plus, and by 2030, you really need that basic history all those years ago to be, well, if you don't care, that's fine. But be spiritually prepared and practice best you can. And you also have loved ones. You know the bigger picture, how commerce and business works. And I'm not an expert in economics, but the basic knowledge I do have, it's certain powers that be don't want people to be awakened. So they have to attack either your factual, everyday, practical life, your family life, your finances, and that's what's called the organised stalking. You get put on a list for something you haven't even done, and you're monitored 24 hours a day. But you see, the communication angle is always monitored, and because they've got to shut people down. I mean, there's all everyday people who have these. If you've got the skills of labour, carpentry, you know, all these skills you do in your everyday life, they're going to be very handy. Because this shift, this crisis, this epidemic of multitude of layers, shall I say, and that's going to hit humanity now. These skills are going to come into, are going to be highly sought out, and you really need to weigh paying for them, because some people will do things with goodness of their own heart, but also they need to feed their families too, and their food shortages and the climate effects and the comets affect the earth and floodings, etc., and you won't even, if nobody even bothers, because the Turian papers I've read and come across is the flip of the poles on Earth, and so many wonderful information individuals out there are sharing evidence. And no, I see things with my own two eyes. And when I see it, and I sky watching for years, I've seen so much, and I know on that subject too much just by observations. And it's a pity because I try to share information, educate, and my own adult family members too. They just don't know because their minds are just not able to comprehend. And I can't blame them, I suppose, because they have to survive, and especially they got kids and stuff. And the army, the military, are getting already ready to come to every town and city and different parts of the world and England too. And the fear mongering, but get the knowledge, get your documents ready to state and educate yourself and ease the fear and know about your spirituality, know who you are as a living, breathing, spiritual being, whatever your religious beliefs are, because time is running out. And as I say that, I'm just showing you the history, but of course they're going to monitor. So, on this particular document, 1763, 1814, it goes back in centuries before that, but it's just giving you some basic outline. And it's a matter of genocide, Holocaust, denial in the Americas, 14th century 92 to the present, San Francisco, there's documents and books. But good luck, you can still get hold of the physical books. 1911, Turkey established gun control. 1915 to 1917, 1 million Americans unable to defend themselves who rounded up and exterminated. 1918, the modern history of biological warfare starts 1918 with Japanese formation of the Special Section, the Army Unit 731, dedicated to BW. The thought at the time was the science and the technology are the key to winning war. And BW is the most cost effective. 1819 to 1919, flu epidemic that killed over 20 million worldwide and over 500,000 in the USA. 1920s. Unlike the migrant tourism nature, ranging from the plague through to the potato blight, which had killed masses throughout the ages, both the beef and poultry hormone CJD crisis was allegedly, I'm going to put on this, a man-made. And the article goes on, the sheep equivalent of the BSE and CJD had been around for more than 2 centuries. Somewhat differently, human spawn, I-form, I can't pronounce along these words, were unheard of before to German physicians. Quotes here. Independently reported initial crisis in the 1920s. BSE2 was unheard of until a decade after cattle, they call it AAK Macau, began to be fed the protein-rich remains of the infected sheep to a word I can't pronounce, growth. 1929, the Soviet Union established gun control from 1929 to 1953. Approximately 20 million dissidents unable to defend themselves rounded up and exterminated. well, 1930s. Less known to the public is that the fluoride also accumulated in bones. The teeth are windows to what's happening in the bones, explained Paul Conant, professor of chemistry at St. Lawrence University, New York. To these reporters in recent years, I can't pronounce the word, bone scientists have expressed alarm about increase in stress fractures in young people in the USA, and those scientists and others are concerned that fluoride linked to bone damage in studies since the 1930s could and may be a factor. 1931, Japan expanded its territory by taking over part of I can't pronounce the country. A Unit 731 moved in to secure and end supply human experiment materials, especially all prisoners of war were available for biological warfare experiments. It's got a link in here. Japanese World War II veteran amidst Unit 731 germ tests. There is a link. Reese.com. ChinaDaily.com. Shanghai, a former Japanese officer admitted he and his unit live Chinese people and created deadly bacteria to harm enemies during World War II. It states who this individual was at 78 years of age. Said yesterday he is anguished over the cruelty his division penetrated on Chinese victims in Pingvan City in northeast China province during the war, together with the Unit 731 veterans. Is the first veteran to have given testimony exposing Japanese and saying Wang Exiyang, and it goes on, the chairwoman of a group that filed a lawsuit at the time on behalf of Chinese survivors and the families. The veteran, a standing member, it was claimed in the article. It's just cut through it, not going to read it all. So what does it say? From China, said he raised fees intended to spread and participated in production of bacteria such as cholera, typhoid, dysentery, and another. It also said he dissected dying Chinese people who they called logs. Disgusting. Took part in 5 live human anatomies within 2 months of during the war. It's disgusting. This is wicked and cruel sin that Japanese militarism did to the Chinese, he said. Founded by veterans in 1957, the association has 270 members. The average is over 80. It's their responsibility, the quote here, makes this hidden history known to the world. The veterans regret that the Japanese government now still wants to cover up the brutality. And he strongly opposes Japanese Prime Minister. I don't know how old is this article. Let me see there's a date on the article. Oh, let's go slow down. Yeah. The date the article is the 8th of August 2021. So goes right at the bottom. The lawsuit was filed in 1997. Goes on to thousands of civilians in China were killed by biological weapons and other acts of brutality. Let's have a look. Wow, Chinese soldiers could be 270,000, one research report had claimed. Their court case began in February 1998, and the group had 108 people to 180. The 25th hearings will be heard in District Court in Tokyo, September. The case expected to be decided in spring. What's the main page? Let's have a look. Actually, that's a facility in Maryland in Utah, USA, and is named the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission. While there begins a series of radiation exposure experiments on American soldiers and civilian hospital patients. No way. Well, you've got wildfires at the moment going on. Yeah, but during the law of the sea, the corporate law and private. We've got now the Bill Gates Foundation in order. why you've got a blinking rope. And it's a shame you got war going on in the Middle East. And you got immigrants coming into England as well.
I get this crazy idea.
1931, under the Rockefeller Institute of Medical Investigations, infects human subject to cancer cells. He later goes on to establish this article, Rents.com. The healthnewsnet.com. This is where the article's from. See that page. It's an archive page. The history secret, a human experiment. Wow. Wow. And is named in US Atomic Energy Commission. 1932, the Turkey syphilis study begins. 20 black men diagnosed with syphilis are never told of their illness and are denied treatment. Instead, are used as human guinea pigs in order to follow the progression and symptoms of the disease. They all subsequently died from the sepsis. No, syphilis. The families are never told that they could have been treated. 1935. There's a whole list on this archive website. There's a whole blinking list. What year does it go to? The CIA initiates Project Monarch MK-Ultra. This is an 11-year research program designed to produce test drugs and biological agents that could use for mind control and behavior modifications. 6 of these sub-projects involve testing the agents on unwritten human individuals. 1955. The CIA, in America that is, experiment to test its ability to infect human populations with biological agents. Release a bacteria withdrawn from the Army's biological warfare. Goes into what it is over Tampa Bay in Florida. 1955, a Colonel Corps continues LSD research, LSD, I should say, studying its potential use as a chemical incapacitating agent. More than 1,000 Americans participated in the test, which continued until 1958. 1956, US Army releases mosquitoes infected with yellow fever over Savannah, GA, and Florida. Following each test, Army agents Anyway, I'm not going to go into that because I covered that in this document. There's all the links in this document you can click on. The population control agenda. think that's enough for now. This is information purposes, education only. There's documents that shows you the website, the past dates quoted is all there to look to as credible source of information, facts. 70s, 87. Right, the message engraved. A well-dressed stranger visited the offices fishing company and announced he wanted to build and transmit a message to mankind. He identified himself as R.C. Christian, but it soon became apparent that was not his real name. He said he represented a group of men who wanted to offer a direction to humanity. But to date, almost 2 decades later, no one knows who R.C. Christian really was. The names of those who represent several things are apparent. The messages engraved on the Georgia guidestones deal with 4 major fields: governance and establishment of a world government, population reduction control, the environment and man's relationship to nature, and spirituality. Now, in a public library, I think it's somewhere Alberta, is it Canada or America? I found a book written by the man calling himself R.C. Christian. And this author on this website claims, I discovered that the momentum he commissioned had been erected in recognition of Thomas Paine and the occult philosophy he exposed. ESPOUSED. Indeed, the Georgia guidestones are used for occult ceremonies, mythistic celebrations to this day. Typically, only one religion leader in the area has the courage to speak out against American Stonehenge, and he had recently relocated his ministry. Let's have a look then. Do they contain the 10 Commandments of the Antichrist? Contents. Message and mystery for mankind. New Age reason or Old Age treason? Albert County. Depopulation of the planet, thinning out the useless eaters, an unspoken New World Order agenda. What is the real secret of the Guardstones? The related files. The Illuminati, the New Age Era, Agenda 21 and Earth Charter. I don't know, this will come up. I'll block it. Oh, here we are. Good research on them. So this is on it. I'll show you we can find it. I'll meet, well, I'll play it myself. zones. According to rumour, the movement has been paid by a group, the New Age
According to
movement.
rumour, the movement has been paid by
A national, humanist societies aim to prepare the way for the coming of Lord, a Messiah who has the locust trust. Let's have a look at what is this. Antichrist. No further. Extraterrestrial false flag operation to begin August 2017. Lucifer Trust. Really? Project Bluebeam file. The Council of Nine. Divine and manipulative extraterrestrials. White Solo Brotherhood. Wow. Undercover Project Bluebeam. False prophets, Islamists, Illuminati, House of the Sun that reveals plans for the last stages of the New World Order. Wow. Pope Francis goes full communist, says sharing property is not commerce but pure Christianity. An essay on the deep forces behind world crisis. What? An essay on deep purposes behind the world crisis. Robert S. Mason. As a website. Is abstract. A powerful spiritual being called, oh look, ALHRIMA or Satan will incarnate in a human body. The terms soul and spirit have clear meanings. Earthly commerce elevation, I can't pronounce these words, is an outcome of the deeds of the gods. The central event of Earth evolution, I think it is, was the incarnation of Christ. What? Spiritual powers of opposition of Lucifer. Thought is the inspirer of the materialistic science and commercialism. Modern culture. What? Ordinary scientific thinking is only semi-conscious. We can, however, make thinking conscious. The spirits of oppositions are necessary in God's evolutionary design. The RIMA manifests especially at the 666-year intervals. The cometry of 1998 AD, 3 times 6666. The Goethean science is a life positive alternative to, I can't pronounce that word again, science in the flesh will likely to present himself as a Christ. The Christ does not reappear in a physical body, but a super physical. The earth, not ETHEREL form, and may incarnate. I have to spell out these words. What? MACROCMIALLY in our computers. Mankind will require new facilities of thinking, consciousness, and clairvoyance. The Antichrist seeks to pervert these facilities and divert mankind and the earth from the destined paths in the God's evolutionary plan. The Antichrist secret societies influence politics, finance, and culture. A false, I can't pronounce this word, MAITREYA, is emerging as a false Christ. And of conscious thinking supports the expansion of consciousness to the perception of spiritual truths. The content is here. Spirit and soul, spirit beings and earthly evolution. The links explains more. Some occult history. 666 again. The true second coming. My Lord. How world leaders are being influenced as well. Turning evil to good. Oh my gosh. I think people need to go and look and research these documents. How world leaders are influenced. Commerce awareness. The awareness indicates that movement which is occurring. General forces of the Antichrist attempting to gain control and place on this planet, and there is seen that which the time of approximately 1986, during which time they shall have reached a turning point, one way or the other, and indicates, previously stated, these forces are concerted effort to regain power over the planet in order to set up a dictatorship. Awareness indicates the emerges towards how hindered severely by timing. What? Black magicians. And think of the people I've met over the years. Awareness indicates method the governments of the world have influenced by those who not of this world. This awareness indicates the clarification of this in order. This awareness indicates the entities who are leaders of the nations through their positions as advisors or through power and influence regarding their position, hierarchy or title. And these entities are in various countries serving not only in the capacity of their own associates or associations, their own dedicated purposes, but in all instances are being programmed and how perceptive the program of these entities who are not of the world, this world. Those being entities of the inner hierarchy system, being that of the, i.e., which I couldn't pronounce that word, Satan's Antichrist hierarchy. This awareness indicates that the way whereby these forces control the entities through telepathy, that's of the mind, and through a kind of inner plane, in dimensional program technique. The awareness indicates that this is occurring within these entities having their structure organisation at a particular stage of development, whereby the entities can exit from their physical bodies and move into astral planes. No way. And where in the astral planes they receive directions and programming from these entities of the astral level. These generally being the black magicians of the Antichrist. Awareness indicates that these are also entities who move or on the past astral levels into mental and other levels and sense programming for higher sources. Oh my gosh. The awareness indicates that these entities receiving from higher sources generally are forces which work through the planetary hierarchy. The awareness indicates that this does not mean that these entities are of the astral plane, are incapable of materializing as physical forms, for indeed they can, and indeed they do. The awareness indicates essentially these entities are those who are often described as brothers of the shadow of the dark forces of the Antichrist. Awareness indicates these forces also being known as MIB, Men in Black types. Oh my gosh. You do not deal with the flesh and blood. The science of I can't read this. For those that want to know, you can research. I'm going to start sharing. I'm going to read this and put something more spiritual. There will be no social healing unless men allow the Christ into their souls. Ability prepares, but is not to be confused with the perception of earth real Christ. This natural clairvoyance was hindered. 1933 may again become possible from the year 2000 AD onwards as a reflection of the deed of the Antichrist around 2000 BC. He was the first man to transform the old clairvoyance into brain thinking. The reflection of this event will be freeing of thought from the brain and transformation to free consciousness clairvoyance. The date of the 2000 BC, the Antichrist diverges from Segman Pro K pronounced, puts the calling of the Antichrist around the year to 100 BC. I'll share this screen, I should say. Document. Gaslighting a flat free visitors again outside. 4:15, 5th of the 8th, 2021. East UK. These now earthly angels can incorporate themselves into men, cleverest ones who deny the spirit. When human consciousness becomes impaled or dull, a very real kind of Antichrist possession. The Antichrist's pre-allow endeavor is to appropriate the intelligence of human beings and not allow them to realize what they can achieve with their own intelligence. Men must strive as time goes on and keep their intelligence under their own individual control, to keep unceasing watch over it. Antichrist takes full advantage of moments when, in full walking life, a man falls into a state of vertigo or dizziness, into a kind of twilight consciousness, when he feels he's not quite surely anchored in the physical world and begins to yield himself to the whirl of the universe, when he does not stand firmly and steadily on his own feet as individuality. The best way we can protect ourselves is to develop clear, exact thinking, not simply skimming over things in thought, as is the general custom today. We should go even further and try to avoid coincidence to current catchwords, for directly we use such words which come not from thoughts but from habits of speech. We are not exercising thinking, even though only for a very short time. These are particularly dangerous moments because they are not unheeded. We should really be careful to avoid using words because which have there is not significant reflection. The occult movement in the 19th century article. It really does matter how we use language. What is now happening in mankind is nothing less than a future incarnation of logic. The logos, the words, what is cosmic intelligence, the word, is becoming flesh in the individuals of men on earth. Christ's logos, the logic, is indwelling individual men. Antichrist's spirits of lies seek falsely this intelligence by swerving it from the cosmos and making it and mankind entire earthly. But just as logic and logos is universal, true for all men, entirety individual, subjective logic intelligence is false, a lie and unreality. To think truly, an individual being with universal intelligence is deemed important for the whole earth, for all mankind. It is an act in the battle of the future of earth, for Michael against the Antichrist, the cosmos Christ who descended to become the spirit of earth. Again, Steiner says that the time of decision around the end of the 20th century, we will enter correction. We will either stand at the grave of civilization or we will turn toward the spiritualized culture. We may face scaled down war of all against all. This war is known to the occultists as the pronounce the word, spell it out. CATASTROPHE. That will end the post. I'll spell out the word again. ATLENTEANH. As the flood ended the previous age. We were given help through the present second recreation of Christ in the consciousness of men following the second crucifixion of Christ by materialism in the souls of the dead from the 19th century onwards. We could now think angel thoughts, have Christ's thoughts and Christ's feelings on earth. This ability prepares, but is not to be confused with the perception of earthly Christ, as I just read. So this is part of a conclusion of this document. To read some history from a slightly different viewpoint in the sites of interplay, internal word and the karma. Let's go down here. The ruling time spirit since 1879 AD is now the Sun Archangel Michael, the counterance of Christ. His previous rulership encompassed the time of the Antichrist and Alexander. Michael is administrator cosmos intelligence and promoter cosmotalism ideas to Plato and being living spirit beings obtained in higher vision. His pupil, and I'm gonna spell the word Aristotle, put his pictorial wisdom into conceptual thoughts suitable for the age of the lost clairvoyance. Alexandra carried this Greek thought culture into the wider world, both in the service of Michael, but this ancient Greek thinking was not experienced as coming from within the man. It was rather experienced as coming like petitions from the outside. A commerce pan intelligence later. It's carried over to, this is quite detailed document, abstract of a book. Let's have a look. The main publisher and the works of the book, and let's go to the top of the page. He marks and links the overview life works of A.P. Shepard, the scientist of the invisible, New York, 1983. The work provides only the basic introduction, and the serious investigator we need to probe deeper. And so to this page. What is the purpose of the Antichrist forces? Awareness indicates Antichrist forces do not, in a general sense, deliberately, physically, being about harm to humans, unless this harm can be done through the influence of human soul to bring about self-destruction or destruction of others from personal choice. The awareness indicates that this activity Antichrist is in reality an effort to keep mankind locked into the karma of the earth, whereby he is unable to escape from the physical realm because of the complexity of the karma, an indication of physical gratification and promises and entrapments. Awareness indicates Antichrist forces are not permitted under universal laws to hold entirety against the entity's will. The entity must want to, or must have karma obligations strong enough to keep the entity on the physical plane. The awareness indicates the force of the Antichrist being unable to keep entities on the plane except through deception, trickery, enticement, efforts to cause them to create more personal karma, and able to use force to keep entities upon this plane. The awareness indicates that the agreement with the light forces are being such that any entity which seeks to attack Antichrist or its forces can indeed be attacked with the full wealth of the Antichrist forces, even to the point of manifesting beings in the room and self-destructive energies which cause the entities to self-destruct through insanity or personal actions that can cause the entity to do that which is harmful to self or others. Awareness indicates that the Antichrist forces cannot assist destructive energies themselves, other than their psychological influences upon the entity's mind, soul, or body. There you go. What is the brain interface? What is the gaslighting? What is the destruction of control finances, Mother Earth, to create psychological distress? They cannot, for example, inflict injury, pain upon an entity through, although they can cause the entity to inflict injury upon themselves through their influence on his mind. Why do you think the technology? Yeah, this is not a flight path for helicopter gaslighting. Yeah, not possible. And no level. Well, the demons and the souls of men and women are around who take part in this. They cannot, for example, inflict injury or pain upon an entity, although they can cause the entity to inflict upon themselves influence of mind. The awareness indicates that in this manner the ancient saying, the gods first make, let me just correct this, the awareness indicates that in this manner the ancient saying, quote, the gods first made correction, the gods first make mad those whom they destroy. The awareness indicates this in reference to the gods of the Antichrist. Now, the Antichrist does have certain rights on this plane, quotation in this article. And the awareness indicates that the approach which entities use in dealing with, and I'll quote the word AHRIMA, is to recognize that this force and those forces do have certain domination rights on the plane, that they govern karma, and it gives a link. See the law of karma, justice, or balance in the section of universal laws. Goes on to state. And they do enforce a kind of karmic justice, that to tamper with this karma justice is to invite trouble. Awareness indicates that, on the other hand, to escape the entrapment of the Antichrist and their types of self-serving justice and karma, an entity needs only to put the light and the frequencies of the divine, the foremost and utmost in his life or her life. See? Spiritual war. Temptations of the Antichrist. What the light worker will have to overcome. The awareness indicates that entities who have the belief that they must give up all worldly activities in order to follow the light are sacrificing more than is required. The awareness indicates that temptations the Antichrist will present in a manner whereby the entity will put other priorities above the light, will put personal comforts or personal prestige, power, personal glory above the light. And this is what the world, living within the world, it's like certain individuals I know. You're kicking in the back door now. the demons are hopping around. They're going to flat 7. Yeah, thought so. Thought so. The awareness indicates that this is the type of temptation which the Antichrist forces will present to the entity who embarks upon the path of light. And that's what I'm on, the path of light. This awareness indicates that the last and greatest temptation is that within the entity who has embarked upon this path of light is tempted by the Antichrist to view himself as a divine being, worthy of great praise, one who is glorious and special, one who is favoured and deserving, one who is favoured and experiences a sense of great pride and joy in his spiritual accomplishments. Well, I never do that. The awareness indicates that this being the last great hurdle for which the entity on the path of light must overcome. Yeah, it's true. For it yearly leads to that temptation. Here you go, the sirens. If I stumbled across information that they don't want people to be aware of, then indeed that entity falls again, as Lucifer fell through was the bright and shining example star of heaven. Yeah, I knew it. The fall due to pride, you see, and vanity in itself. This awareness indicates that the entities who can move on the path of light maintain their sense of humanity to the light and recognizes that on their own they are nothing and can do nothing, but with the light they can merge with the divine. These entities indeed difficult, if not impossible, for the Antichrist to trick or to keep them on this plane. The awareness indicates the purpose of allowing Antichrist so much leeway in his domain is to create that school in the universe in which the masses may learn the lessons which are necessary for being to learn and being ascending to the Godhead, being immortal, being of divine light. Goes on to say, the awareness indicates, it's been said that the miles of God grinds slowly, and this awareness indicates the needing of souls from grist of the mills, making of the dough the bread of life, which will in time become the manna of heaven. This energy of transformation involved as that which takes eons of time. Awareness indicates that entities can spread upon this time by being aware of the nature of the Antichrist, how the Antichrist forces work, and how they can, through their devotion to the Christ light, the Christos, T-O-S, the sound current that leads to the highest heavens, by devotion to these entities, by devotion to these energies, they can lift themselves out of the levels of limbo, the bowels of hell, and the confines of the earth. Wow. It's another article dated 11th October 1978 about the reams of cholesterol and Hades, Hades, and I'll just check on this.
I agree. The New Age according to the movement that's being paid
of time. Awareness indicates that entities can spread upon. Wow. Demonic invasion. Lion of Judith. It's so true. It's so true, this. The awareness indicates the Earth is essentially in the grips of a war between planets. And has been for 12,000 years in an intense level, and prior to that in a less intense level for approximately 60.00 years. This awareness indicates that these entities from those other realms have the capability of transcending or transmuting certain vibrator, vibrator, rates in electric. Wow, look at this. Electric magneto. I'll have to spell this out. ELECTROM